Here. Oh, hello. You know, I've been looking at this old book on puppetry. It's called The Puppet Theater Handbook by Marjorie Batchelder McFarlane. And to tell the truth and the whole truth, this is how I began in puppetry itself. But to go back, I was born in England. And my parents had separated before I was born, so I never knew my real father. But at age 6, we moved to Canada. And there I encountered a whole new family, a stepfather and a stepbrother and sister, and by a half-brother. And always from the very beginning, even in England, I was dancing. I loved to dance, and my mother never could stop me. And so, finally, at age 12, a bit late for a beginning ballerina, I was sent to study ballet in Vancouver, BC. And 2 years later, believe it or not, I had my own school of ballet with 68 students, most of them a little older than I. And suddenly, I found myself catapulted to fame by a freak prank by a boy in a high school auditorium where we were giving our first exhibition of dancing. And I was a pioneer in New Westminster, BC, who found herself the next morning on the front page of the Seattle Herald. And there I was. Now I must, the photograph of myself in Ziegfeld's Rio Rita. I was the premiere danseuse of the Moonlight Ballet in 1927. It was a very exciting opening, and every night we stopped the show. It was a marvelous experience for a young girl. Many young girls there were, of course, and I was only one of 16. But again, I had the privilege of coming out myself and doing this beautiful little number. But now I think I'll take you over to another part of the room where we can. And themselves, you see, they're all in their nice black uniforms, each with their finger puppets that they had made themselves. And they performed in many different shows. And they began to earn money as teenagers because they did a lot of birthday party shows. And they even performed at Disneyland and in a little contest on television. Now, when these girls were between 12 and 14, they worked with me. I did not do the puppetry myself, but here is a little ballet. We called it the Lavender Ballet, and these puppets, only 12 inches high, were quite visible from the back of an auditorium, much to my surprise, because I went back to look myself. And so it was rather nice. And they were very good girls, but came a time. They came through high school. They had worked very hard, but they had to have their final exams and graduate and leave home. And finally here was Mollie Falkenstein, all alone, and had never done a bit of puppetry herself. And so what was I to do? Well, of course, I became a one-woman show. And that is when I really began, you know, to work hard and try to improve myself. And this puppet here, in this little frame, my ballerina, was performing in Bucharest, Romania, as just like a full-size ballerina on a big stage, a big black stage with a black background. And suddenly I heard a rumble in the audience, and I couldn't imagine what had happened. I thought, oh dear, I must be very bad or something wrong has happened. And then I realized people were getting up to stand at the side of the auditorium so they could see, because the seats were placed too close to the stage, some of them. So there we are. They held me after that show, and the carpenters built a little stage around me and my puppet. And now picture a large auditorium, and the lights are dimming slowly. And then comes the light on the stage. Little tiny flat puppet stage in the middle of a large, wide stage in a big auditorium. And now my show begins. The fairies are about. I know, because last night when I had gone to bed, I heard them creeping out. And wouldn't it be a dreadful thing to do a fairy harm, to crush a delicate little wing or bruise a tiny arm? They're all about the place, I know. So do be careful where you go.
Love with no love. Diamond ring, mighty pretty thing. I'm the one who saved and bought it. There's a house with roses all around it. Awfully glad I found it. Lucky I can just afford it when she's near. So winter turns to spring, bells begin to ring. There's a magic charm about her. She's divine, and she's mine. I'm in love, so in love. With no love.
here comes our special ballerina. Her name is Veronica, and she's very talented, but extremely shy. Veronica, are you ready? Baby, don't bother me. I'm busy. Oh, dear, it sounds as though she's going to be temperamental today. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's all count to 3, and then we'll all call Veronica together, right? 1, 2, 3. Veronica! Okay, I'm ready now. Turn on the music, somebody. And now for Unima. 1964, I was invited to be the official representative from the Puppeteers of America to Unima. This led to many things and much travel for me. And eventually, of course, I became vice president of Unima. And in Moscow, we were presented with this curiosity here. This is a Russian teapot, not a samovar, but a teapot. And you lift it up, you see, and there's the teapot, all right. And inside, there are 4 teacups. This was presented by Mr. Sergei Obraztsov to all the performers in Moscow. And a big procession came out on the stage, led by Mr. Obraztsov, followed by a row of helpers who held these various parts of the teapot and presented to the leader of whatever group was performing. It was a great idea and led to much merriment. And I brought mine home without a box or anything in a small cloth bag packed with puppets, believe it or not. And it arrived without a scratch, much to my satisfaction. And now comes the 50th anniversary of Unima. In 1979, we went to Belgium, to Liège, where the first celebration of Unima was held. And so this is a very nice plaque, a very heavy metal plaque. It says 1929, 1979, within the public square of Liège on a big post. And we celebrated in the rain with umbrellas and a big band. And it was a lot of fun and really a great thing for Unima. There was also a plaque installed in Paris somewhere, and again in Prague, where Unima was born. My years with the Unima, the travel, sometimes the discomfort. For instance, there was an unforgettable night on an unheated train with hard board seats all the way from Frankfurt to Dresden, but never mind. There is always the thrill of meeting new friends in faraway places, and that will always be cherished. I will never forget it myself. Puppetry has no equal when it comes to friendship, and both the Puppeteers of America and Unima are alike in this respect. The puppeteers who are elected to positions of importance in this organization, in both organizations, have a great responsibility. The recent World Puppetry Festival, which was held in Washington, D.C., was a great example of this and will long be remembered by many. Sponsored by the P of A and especially Jim Henson, the festival and Congress of Unima were successful only because of all these people, these beautiful people, and especially Nancy Staub, who was the director of this huge event. Her numerous helpers and aides from Puppeteers of America, they will never be forgotten for all they have done. They were so wonderful, so friendly, and they made many friends from all over the world, I'm sure. And even the food is cherished by some of these people. They couldn't understand how it could be so well done. And it was a great event. It was something I will never forget. And I'm sure I'm accompanied by many others in this respect, too. So let's hope it will all continue. The world is a big place, but it can be made a lot smaller through the aid of puppetry.